Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast, The Wire Remixed, Season 4, Episode 3, Homerooms. As always, I'm joined by one Robert Sapp. How you doing, Mr. Sapp?
Doing well, doing well. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Yes, happy Monday, indeed. This episode was, of course, the third episode of Season 4. It was directed by one Seif Mann. He's done a few Wire episodes over the course of the duration of the series. It ranked 35th all time by Vulture. And of course, you had the epigraph. I love the first day of school, man. Everybody all friendly and shit. By one naming Bryce. Themes, I had everybody wants Michael and class in session, as there was some teaching going on inside as well as outside the classroom. We will certainly flush that out later on throughout the course of the episode and throughout the course of the episode and at the end of, and late and through the course of the podcast. Opening scene: Omar is back as he is introduced in his normal spot, which is normally a third episode. I know Season 3 they introduced him in a second episode, but normally over the course of the history of the series, Omar has been introduced episode 3 of most seasons. So we get back to things get back to normal from that standpoint. Omar, of course, has a new boyfriend, Ronaldo, and apparently Ronaldo has finished a bowl of Cheerios without telling Omar about it. So Omar has to get his Honey Nut Cheerios. There's a distinction. That's key. His Honey Nut Cheerios. So Omar heads to the store, no gun because his gun, the gun was too big to fit in his silk pajamas. So Omar leaves the house with no gun and some silk pajamas, but it doesn't matter because he's Omar. As he walks through the streets, kids scatter. He goes in the store, ends up gets a box of cereal, not the Honey Nut that he wanted, and some cigarettes. And as he's returning from the store, he decides to smoke a cigarette on a stoop, and just out of nowhere, a bag of drugs is dropped at his feet. He comes back to the house with Ronaldo, who's up, enjoying reading a book and enjoying a glass of orange juice. And Omar is, flustered by the fact, that says, I don't want this. And Ronaldo says, gives him a look as if you don't. So Omar says, and this was a very important line, how you expect to run with the wolves come night when you spend all day sporting with the puppies. Lets you know about who Omar is. But even before that line, he says it's not about it's about who you're taking it from. Omar wants a challenge, and giving him free drugs is not a challenge. Great opening scene, perfect way to reintroduce one Omar Little back into a new season. What were your thoughts on this opening scene?
Yeah, I was thinking about this. This scene is nearly impossible for me to talk about without really deep diving into Season 5. And so I will return to the scene in Season 5. Other than that, I would say, this is an amazing scene. It is legendary for a reason.
Yeah. And again, we'll certainly be looking forward to that connection when we get to see it. Yeah. I think I know where you're going with that.
There isn't a thing. It just is. They set those two scenes up to specifically look alike. It is the same exact thing.
Got you.
So, anyways, let me stop. Yep. See, I'll be all off and deep in that.
We go to Colvin and the Deacon. Colvin is enjoying, a nice breakfast outdoors, which is, his as we will come to learn is one of his go-tos. So the deacon Colvin at this point is a security guard, excuse me, a director of a security firm at a hotel, $52,000, take home car, good benefits. So he's enjoying his life post Amsterdam. Says that it wasn't as good as the Hopkins gig, but it will do. So the deacon comes up, tries to sell him on a grant that the university tells him about a grant that the university has gotten on student on violent offenders and researching about violent offenders. Colvin at this point says he has no interest in it. He has no interest in it as far as the academics. These guys who are academics who seemingly have good intentions. He says he's done that, went down that road before with the downtown people, with the downtown people, and in terms of politics and what have you. So the deacon says, I tried, and at this point, Colvin is comfortable in terms of just making $52,000 a year and having a nice take-home car. Nice, and it was also not only reinduction. This was also the first episode we saw Colvin this season. So we see Omar and Colvin come back in the same episode. What were your thoughts on this scene?
I mean, it's definitely set up, and I think like it is the beginning part of. I know what I was going to say. I mean, it's the beginning part of Colvin's next journey, right? Like we're getting an introduction to it.
Yes. So we see we go to Bodie, Michael. We go to Bodie and Michael. At this point, Michael is working for him. This is the day before school has started. Michael, of course, trying to earn some money for some school clothes. And he has taken name and spot for that corner. As so we see Snoop, Chris, and Marlo pull up. Now the corner, in contrast to past episodes, the corner now has picked up. It's busy. It's getting busy. It's gotten busy, and you see the benefits of the Prop Joe product start to pay dividends for this particular corner. Bodie has Michael working for him temporarily at least, and Marlo, of course, being Marlo, notices this and says that goes to Bodie and basically gives him tells him like, hey, this corner looks right. This corner looks right for us. So you can either take our package or just flat out or just step off. He makes his conversation as per Marlo brief. Chris tells him, Chris mumbles a word. We don't know what Chris said to him, but Chris gives him says something to him as Snoop stares him down as Bodie finds out, just what life is like as middle management and independent with no support is like. And Marlo, of course, at the end of the scene takes noticing of Michael and says tells Chris he wants to know more about Michael. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Big paws on a little pup.
Big paw, yes.
That's yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is setting a lot of stages, and so in episode 3, it's just kind of like a continuation of giving us all of the characters that we're going to see this year, giving us like a status update on their where they're at in their journeys at this particular time.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of that in this episode. This was a major setup scene because you have Marlo, Bodie in terms of where he's at, and also the big one to me is Michael. So it was this scene right here was definitely definitely something to kind of like keep in mind in regards to how this the direction of how this season is going to go. This was a major scene from that standpoint in terms of setup, I should say. So we get to Royce and Burrell along with Royce's cabinet. You know, you have Demper, you have his chief of staff, also Delegate Watkins was in the room as well, and they're discussing the witness murder. Now, Carcetti has closed in on Royce. He's within 8 points. So Royce, you know, Carcetti now has Royce's attention. So Royce puts in his version of the full court press and says, hey, anybody that's waffling in regards to donations, they're gonna have to make a choice between. They're going to make a choice. You know, they're going to make a choice between him or Carcetti. They can't no more standing in the middle. He says, you know, told Carcetti cards, and he also tells Depper to slow it down. In regards to the campaign. Demper, of course, says, you know, Bond is getting close to me. He says, well, it doesn't matter if I drop you from the ticket. So Royce, you know, is a little bit nervous for the first time and sees Carcetti as a legit threat with some of these moves that he was going to make. Now, as his staff is walking out, or the majority of it, he is left with Delegate Watkins. Delegate Watkins says flat out, hey, that he basically agrees with Carcetti from the witness angle, because if you remember, Royce did not, you know, want to throw funds at the money for witness protection, and Carcetti and Watkins says, hey, you know, it wouldn't have been that much money. You know, the money you could afford to throw some money towards that. And really, Royce's comeback on that was weak. In returns to what in comparisons to what Watkins says. Doug Watkins said Watkins made perfect sense in terms of what he was discussing. And so really you start to see the beginnings of cracks, some cracks in Royce. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah. So a couple things. Like we like at this point in the Wire story, and they're telling a story. At this point in the Wire story, we're way past any ideas of right and wrong, like any type of deal like with that. And so what they were doing with this scene was kind of like showing you the ins and outs of the different moves of how politics was played in this particular city at this particular time in that city. And like all the different moves in which things are made in order to influence the outcome as much as possible. Put in simplistic terms, Royce wants to remain mayor. Carcetti wants to be the new mayor, and each of them, there's only one of them can get it, and they will do anything to attain it or prevent the other one from attaining it.
Yeah, no two ways about it.
I know what you're gonna say. I know the other thing I was gonna say is like to put a fine point on the, like, at this point in the show, like where in terms of like our characters and where they're at. The Wire did an episode. They did I think the title, it was called Moral Midgetry.
Right.
Everybody, I mean, it's a little bit thing, but that was the title of the thing. And so I use that as an example to say that at this point in time, every character is morally compromised, and the more higher up, however you want to define that within the show, the more morally compromised you have to be.
Absolutely, no question about it. So we get to Bodie and Michael. Bodie is impressed with. So Michael attempts to was selling to a couple of crackheads. They tried to they try to run some game on him. He completely shuts it down. Is real firm with him, and Michael Bodie, of course, is impressed by this. Probably reminded him of a younger version of himself, and he tries to permanently recruit Michael to work some more shifts. Tries to talk Michael out of going to school. And Michael says, of course, Michael just said, "Look, I was just trying to earn some money until school started. School is going to start the following day." So Michael ends up walking away, and not taking Bodie's offer to be, basically, not full time, but to work more hours on the corner. What were your thoughts on this?
Here's what I'll say. There are certain times where I am listening to you and I understand exactly how you're presenting it, but the words coming out of your mouth are crazy because the situation is crazy. You're just describing the scene. That's all you're doing is describing the scene. And it's just like, all right, let's pull layers back on this. This is what just happened. This is what just happened. A seventh grade student, the seventh grade age student, went to, what is Bodie, 16, 17, representing the show. Let's say that. Older teenager. And the advice that the older teenager gave him was, fuck that school shit. Excuse my language. F that school stuff, because it's better to sell drugs, because what are you going to do? What are you trying to do?
Right.
What are you trying to do with your life? That's what we're describing here. That's what The Wire's describing here. It's sick. It's totally backwards, and it's jacked up. And there's another thing that I wanted to go back to you. You were talking about Omar didn't want the drugs. Yes, that's accurate. Also, it came out of a row house that he was standing by smoking a cigarette. And so
yes.
The reason why I brought up the moral aspect of it is that I implore people to just take a step back. Do not just watch this season or this show, and I'll keep saying it, I'll beat this drunk. Do not watch this show, and especially not this season, as I'm just going to watch the next thing that happens, because you missed the entire point of this season. This is not about the next thing that happens. This is about the images and the words that are being presented on the screen as normal, and the show is saying to you and telling you this is absolutely not normal. What we are witnessing is a city dying. That's what they were trying to cry out and say. That nothing that you described with Omar is literally drug dealers in a vacant house. And from what we've seen at this point in time in this city, in this show, is that the vacant houses represent three things. I mean, overarching represents poverty and death and decay, but then it represents three things tangibly. It represents dead bodies inside. It represents people who have nowhere else to go residing, or it represents where drug dealers go. And the row houses are the majority of the houses we see in this season. And the majority around where the kids hang, and where the kids are, and where they are maneuvering through. So that's point number one. Bringing it all the way back to this point in this thing is this scene right here is the worst scene that could possibly be there. Michael is selling drugs to pay for school clothes.
Right.
Part-time selling drugs.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yeah. Think
about that. No. Think about it. Think about what that means and what the show is trying to say. Right? And then another character we're familiar with, Bodie, is literally trying to put him on the path that he's on now, which we all know where that ends.
Yes.
Right? And so that's what I'm saying. That's the show's so much more. And so I can't even use the setup word that I use in the way that I used to use it, because they're telling a narrative, a story. And yeah, there's set up components to that, but it is a long form story that we are watching now. And they are challenging us to listen to the words, parse out all the words, listen to the images, parse out all the images. Really is a visual novel. All right,
Well,
I'm done.
the challenge, no, yeah, I'm glad you went on that tangent. Um, because you're 1,000% right. If you look at the row houses, I mean, Omar lives in a row house. Omar's
Yes.
he came out of a row house.
Came out, rip that sign off his house.
Yes, rip that, rip that,
Uh,
rip that, that politics out. Omar
he
doesn't
doesn't
have,
have any political
yeah,
affiliation.
none whatsoever, none. So, so yes, he takes that sign off his house, but you see that, and then we get to we were talking about the Bodie scene. Bodie, and I said why the reason why I said I had one of my themes of everybody wants Michael because we saw Bodie, and we see Marlo. This kid doesn't have a shot. He's getting recruited. He's getting recruited by a drug kingpin and by a career lifer, drug middleman. So it's like, what shot, like, what chance did this kid have in life if those are the people that are giving you probably the most attention at the age of what, 14?
And then to go deeper than that, what does it say? Those are the only people. I mean, we will find out, but those
Yeah,
are
we're
the
gonna
only
find out.
people who
Yeah,
can
that's what I'm saying.
actually.
We'll find out.
I'm not saying that, but those are the people. But honestly, we should you know what? Let me stop. This season deserves to be talked about as a whole because it's that much. It's that much in terms of like connecting the pieces, and so going deeper than that, what is that trying to say, right? Like what life factors need to go in to Michael? The only two people he can go to or who are offering advice are Marlo and Bodie, right? Like that's what the show is. That's the heart of the season. I keep doing this. Why are the kids in the position they're in? None of these tracks, I'm just going to have to say this because F that, this is too important. None of these tracks that any of these children, any of our characters in this, maybe outside the police, whatever, but none of these are good. Like the end is bad for everything. The ending is bad. None of this is good ending. So the show was asking you to examine. We know what the ending's going to be. The reason we know what the ending is going to be is we never watched The Wire a day in our lives. We can look at our windows and tell what the ending's going to be, right? So if we know that's the end, how did we get here as a society, and how did the kids get here as characters, as individuals? How did that happen?
Yeah, and to kind of put a bow on this Bodie and Michael scene, during that course of the conversation with Bodie and Michael, Bodie says, "Under my wing, you're gonna do nothing but rise." Keep in mind, Bodie is not a kingpin. He's not, in the position of like say Slim Charles is right now. Not a lieutenant. He is middle management. He's a middle management, and he's in a lower position than he even was with the Barksdale. At least the Barksdale, at least he was with an organization. He's a middle management independent. He's an independent on the corner. So we will definitely see more of Bodie and also Michael Lee through the course of the season, and their journeys. So Royce, again, we talked about this earlier. Royce, you see, Royce's full court press taking effect. So you have drilling outside Carcetti's headquarters. You have cars, getting towed, and his campaign committee is impressed because they recognize that Royce, even his campaign manager says, you must have really, or his strategist, I should say, Terry DiGaschino says, you really must have pissed him off, and Carcetti acknowledges, I must have. So they, we mentioned this earlier, they have the full attention of one Clarence Royce. Um, We get to Kima, Omar, and Andre. Andre, of course, was the guy who was on the phone from the previous episode, was on the phone with Monk, the conversation that Omar, not Omar, that Marlo ended up taking over. So we meet him in this episode. So he has a store. Kima and Omar are both, casing the store for watching the store for different reasons. Of course, Omar is casing it. And Omar, both of them notice the re-up. Omar sees the re-up, and then Omar also notices Kima and says he recognizes Kima, of course, from way back when, from season one, and says, I kind of like her as long as she stays out of my way. I didn't take that as to think that Omar would actually kill a cop, but um, and then you see Kima goes inside the store, and is able to recognize that this is a drug depot. She's looking around, she notices the camera, notices, low inventory. And then as she leaves, Omar says more patience. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, it's a really, really good scene. Really, really enjoyed it. Um, it's, I mean, like it's of course it's setting up for something else, but it also is elaborating on how good of an eye both of these characters have,
Yes.
both Kima and Omar.
Yeah.
The difference being Kima has people she needs to report to. Omar does not, so he can stay there all day if he wants to. She cannot.
No. Yeah.
But anyways, they both have great eye.
No. Yeah. No. Absolutely. So we get to Kima and Lester. Kima tells Lester, of course, about the store, about Andre's store, and how she thinks that she made the re-up. And she kind of runs through that. So you see these two discussing discussing that. It was a quick scene, but what are your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, setup.
So we get to Rawls and Marimo. So now Lieutenant Marimo has been he's going to be the new head of the major crimes unit. Our guy with the beach house, he's out, and this scene, Rawls is such an asshole. So the guy comes in. I forgot the dude's name. The lieutenant the dude who's the lieutenant that was started off the season, but he comes in and immediately Rawls gets right to the point. And says, "Hey, you've been reassigned. You did some great work there." And the guy says, "Did I do something?" And then Rawls says, "Can you brief Marimo? Can you brief him quickly?" And says, and then as the guy's walking, he gives him this shitty assignment because I think he got reassigned to like telephone duty, some shitty assignment. So then as the guy is walking out, Rawls asks him about the beach house. And Rawls didn't give a shit about the beach house. He just was fucking at this point. So before the dude can even respond, he says, "Great," and basically sends him out, sends him along his way, sends him out. So now the major crimes unit has, you have Daniels and Freeman's guy is out, and Rawls' guy is in. What are your thoughts on this scene?
Well, anyway, Freeman did the exact same thing to Homeboy as well. So everybody disrespects him.
Yeah. No, that's
yeah. No, I'm just. You're right. Everybody just disrespects him. But he'll have a beach house by the end of this thing, so he gets the last laugh. This is set up, and it's setting up the new edition. It's setting up what happens with major crimes.
Yes, that's the big part. That's the big piece of it.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, the new look that major crimes will take on. McNulty, Bunk, and Beatty. So we come to find that, of course, we know that McNulty is with Beatty. We see her kids. Bunk comes in with a bottle of wine, and Bunk comes over to see that we see now a domesticated Jimmy McNulty, and Bunk again came over with the wine. We see McNulty seemingly getting along with the kids. See, he's smiling, he's happy. Everything is, he's in a seemingly a great place at this point. What were your thoughts?
Yep, this is giving us a look where our guy McNulty's at in his personal life.
So we go to we get to Slim and Bodie. So Bodie complains to Slim Charles that is. Bodie complains to Slim Charles about Marlo taking over the corner. Slim has a great line in this scene. He says, Bodie says, if this was the old days, and Slim says, that's the thing about the old days. They the old days. And then he tries to give him some more advice, and Bodie walks away. What were your thoughts on this quick scene?
Yeah, Slim Charles says, if you want my opinion, and Bodie says, no, I don't want your opinion, because what will your opinion do, right? Like if you just told me the old days are the old days, so essentially I'm out here, Bodie, he's out there on his own. And so if he's out there on his own, he's going to move as he moves, because there's no reason to have these conversations. This is a dynamic scene between these two. It's very, very cool to see some of like the characters we don't really get to hear a lot from have conversations with each other. I realized that as I was watching this scene, I was like, that doesn't get to happen a lot. So that was really cool. Of course, all of this is setting up some major stuff, but they got to go through the character beats kind of first, and so the big part of this is that Bodie's on his own. That's the takeaway.
So here's the thing I got from the scene, and I'm like, so the Slim Charles character really, I want the audience to really pay attention. If you haven't seen this season, or if you are just rewatching like us, really pay attention to how the Slim Charles character moves, and really, really, really pay attention to what he says. There's no wasted motion with his character, which with most characters on this show. But it really, I'm very fascinated by the Slim Charles character. So the contrast in these two characters is this: they're both from the Barksdale organization, as we all know. Slim Charles has found steady footing. He's found steady footing. He is completely comfortable at where he's at within, being in this new world order with Prop Joe and, with Prop Joe. Bodie is not. It's just that simple. So I found that. I found when these two have scenes and that dynamic that jumped out to me. That fact jumped out to me when this scene was happening. So we to
nope, pause right there. I got to say something. All right, and this is how I break this down. All right, so there's a word that's out there that's called grooming, and it's applied in a variety of different aspects. I won't go into details, but essentially, older person grooming younger person for their needs. It's never in a positive context, and it's not in a positive context here. And then I'll leave it at that. It's not okay. It's just not okay. Like, you can call it mentorship, you can call it anything like that. And that's what I'm doing is I'm arguing.
No. You just put words in.
No. Sorry, I'm not even responding to you. I'm just saying in terms of what the show is trying to characterize, in terms of the characters. Again, it's the moral complexity of this. Yes, there are different factors in all of this, and absolutely, but at the end of the day, this is somebody who older and more experienced trying to get another person younger and less experienced, however you want to define that, to do something that is beneficial for them.
Okay, I got you.
And so just pay attention. That there's a lot of that's going on in the show. And so just another thing to pay attention to.
Well, that was one of our what was one of our themes, class in session. There was some class, there was some teaching and some schooling going on, like I said, definitely outside the classroom. So
I use the word grooming, which is a little bit different than teaching.
Yeah.
So I'll let that be out there. I'm not gonna bang that drum too hard, but it is something the show wants you to pay attention to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we go to the co-op meeting. So you had the co-op.
I.e., wait, really quickly. I.e., what we're seeing with Cuddy, right way for the most part, and there'll be mistakes in that, but right way. He's trying the right way. The rest of these brothers and how their interaction, not so much the right way. That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. Yes.
Using a character example.
And yes. Yeah. So we go to the co-op meeting. So the co-op is complaining about how Marlo is running off independence like Bodhi, but he's only taking a small bit of property of territory as a comparisons to New Yorkers who have come down and taken over, as one of the co-op members said, or like Walmart and taken over.
I love that line.
It is a great line. It is.
It's so good. Good. I love it. Every single time I hear it, it makes me laugh. Go ahead, sorry.
They're like Walmart, so they feel like, so they reach the conclusion that they want Marlo to come in with them to go up against New York. They recognize his skill set. Slim Charles identifies what Marlo is doing as far as with the vacants and what have you. And Prop Joe says, "Hey, I think it's another time. I think it's about time we take another shot at the boy as far as having him join the co-op." And Slim Charles kind of warns Prop Joe, says, "I hope you got more to say than Stringer did, because up until this point, Marlo hasn't been trying to hear from anybody." Or hasn't had an ear for anyone, to paraphrase. What were your thoughts on this particular scene?
Yeah, the reason why I love the Walmart line so much, and it's like I hear you in a lot of, so the reason why I love the Walmart line so much is because it's doing an accurate comparison of big business to the drug game, right? Like, and so like that is funny to me, and inaccurate as all hell. And then also, for its time, not done all the time. Let's just say that. Not since The Wire, people make observations like that all the time. Not so much before The Wire or at the time of The Wire. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say to that. And so then, like, I hear you, and what I was gonna say is I hear you, Ril, when you make comments about Bodhi's character of him being middle management. And I understand and I get that. What I know that the show is asking, and especially like in this Walmart line, is why isn't that how it's characterized in the media? Like season 5 will be all about that. But why isn't that how it's characterized, right? Like we look at big business and we go, oh, so everybody's so smart, da, 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 da. And then all of these guys are just all the project, whatever, and everything the cops have thrown at them in prior seasons in terms of who they think they are and what they believe their intellectual ability to be. And so it's the duality of it. In one way, it's presented as this, but everybody talks about it in a much more hush, disgusting, decrepit way about what it is that's going on in the streets and versus that. So that's that part. Now, what they're tangibly talking about in the scene is kind of like the reality of the game that is being presented at that time in the city in general. But anybody of us that grew up in the Northeast and are not from New York knows how New York people from New York present themselves and feel about themselves. Not to paint a broad brush, but they're very confident. And they're very confident in whatever they're doing is better than what you're doing. And it doesn't matter if you are already involved in something. If they feel like what they're involved in is better, then they are going to make the moves to make sure that what they're involved in takes precedent. And so that's on a macro level. I think they're making a fun commentary, just taking jabs at New York just because it's fun to take jabs at New York. But also, as big as people think they are in their individual ponds, there's always somebody a lot bigger. And of course, the kind of like the thought process around the Walmart line is that, especially at the that time period, we've seen it play out to almost its finale in 2020. But Walmart was huge, conglomerate, and all the mom and pop stores were going to be eaten up. Whether that mom and pop store was 200 people or the mom and pop store was 5 people, right? Walmart was coming for everybody's necks. So what they're saying here is that New York doesn't care. Doesn't care from the east side, west side, what if you took down Avon's, Barksdale, it doesn't care. Any of that. They're coming in to take over everything in one foul swoop because they're New York and they're that big and have that much behind them. It doesn't matter what Baltimore has unless, and then they make the suggestion.
Yeah, it doesn't work without. I don't think that line works. The Walmart line doesn't work without mentioning New York. I think it was perfectly.
No, exactly. New York's like Walmart. Yes, absolutely. They're using to describe New York, which makes it even more hilarious. It's just all hilarious. It's a great line.
No, that was definitely a classic line. And certainly, and also this is a huge setup as well, and foreshadowing as well in terms of what's going to transpire later in this season. So we get back to Bunk, McNulty, and Beatty. They are discussing how quiet the West End is in regards to bodies. Bunk says he knows who the shooter is but can't find him, and McNulty says he'll pop up. So then you have McNulty and Bunk and McNulty. Reluctantly, McNulty goes for a drink with Bunk. Quick scene, but what were your thoughts on this scene?
Yep. It's just establishing the new character of McNulty. Set up, but setting up the new character, McNulty. New character motivation, McNulty.
Yes. So
new character actions.
We go to Mr. Colvin, Bundy Colvin. So Colvin is working. He's a director of hotel security at this nice hotel, and he sees that a woman. They're inside a room where a woman has been beaten up by. She was a prostitute. Has been beaten up by her John, but the John happens to be a very connected person who has frequented that hotel and who was very important to that hotel as far as the business that he provides. So immediately, Colvin, goes back into police mode and starts interviewing the girl. He basically is able to decipher what happened and how it went down. And he gets some handcuffs from another security guy that was there and puts the dude in cuffs. And then one of the guys says, you know, says, I'm taking you, he says, I'm taking you in the wagon. And the guy, you know, I'm assuming the guy that one of the other guys that was his supervisor says, hey, you work for us, you're not a police officer. And in that moment, Colvin, the look on Colvin's face in that moment was priceless. It was just the guy who plays Colvin, what is his name? I forgot his name. Robert Wisdom. Just you can't have a better, like you can't act better than what Robert Wisdom did in this scene or in that moment per se, when that reality of I'm not a cop and this is probably not for me. I love this scene where, you know, I know it was graphic from, you know, don't like to see a woman get beat up, but from that standpoint, in terms of that, but I love this scene in terms of Robert Wisdom and his performance in this particular scene. What are your thoughts?
Yes, this is setting up where our character is setting up the motivation for why he does what he does in the future.
So we go to Bunk and McNulty. So they're drinking by their usual spot, on train tracks. McNulty's not drinking heavy, as is this is the new McNulty. And Bunk basically calls him out for or questions this new Jimmy McNulty and uses this analogy about uses this fish analogy, so basically saying to McNulty, you're painting yourself as something that you really are not. And then McNulty come back, McNulty retorts, well, maybe I am this. Well, maybe I am this new person. And then Bunk, jokingly says, that was deep. But I don't, even though I don't buy in this scene that fact. I don't buy. I think Bunk is not buying this new change Jimmy McNulty. That's how I read it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's of course complicated. So I really like this scene for that. To unpeel this scene is a lot, and you have to read a lot into it. But here's what I'll say. I enjoyed the scene because it gave an insight to their relationship, which wasn't there, which we hadn't seen prior to this. But I'm trying to think. Which we hadn't seen prior to this, which is them kind of like pushing back on each other, but on very real and serious topics. I like this scene for just like showing how male relationships work, basically.
So we go to the first day of school. We have Brandy, Michael's little brother Bug, who this is his first, he gets introduced in this episode, and Duquan. They go over to Naaman's house. Naaman's mom, of course, does not let Duquan in. And then when they enter Naaman's house, Naaman shows them pictures of tattoos that he might get. One of the images came from somebody in jail that Weebay knew, and of course they usual teenage stuff. They start joking about he says they were Chinese signs, and he says they mean, one of them meant heart, and then Michael started joking and says this could mean pussy, and doing the normal teenage razzing when it comes to some stuff like that. But the big part of this to me was the fact that Duquan couldn't get in the house, and again is considered to be just an outcast in this particular scene. What were your thoughts in this? What were your thoughts of this scene?
Yeah, I mean it's great scene, and I like it because it kind of like is another just kind of like letting them show that they are in fact just kids. Like don't put anything else on them. They're just kids. That's one. Number two, I like the scene because it gives a little bit of character beat to every character, adds a little bit more like you so well pointed out. Duquan's not let into the house. Michael's in there always pushing back on Naaman. Naaman's in there flossing. Randy is, looking for the next hustle. But I like that there was like character beats for every single one of them inside that one scene.
So we go to Marimo's introduction to the detail. He says, "Hey, I respect this detail," and the Avon Barksdale, that was a 14 bus, 14 point bus, whatever. But we're going to do better, and with great supervision. And they know what time it is. Kima and Lester in particular know what time it is. So he asked if they had any questions. If they had any questions, they didn't. Then Lester flicks his hand up, and says, no. So those two know what time it is. In regards to this new regime with this lieutenant taking over the MCU. Quick scene, but what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean this is the beginning. Ross has articulated his plan.
Yes.
Either last episode or the episode before. So he's enacting his plan.
No, yeah, this is the follow through of his plan. So we go to Michael Naaman, and Randy Duquan are going over their homeroom assignments, and seemingly none of them like their assignments in terms of the teachers that they do know. One of them said, of course, Michael, they try to pronounce Prez's name, they can't pronounce that. Samson, of course, who is what's her name? Cuddy's ex-girlfriend. She's Naaman says he hates her, and so just kind of a coming of age scene. Kind of took me back in terms of homeroom, and you're looking at what teachers, looking at what teachers you're gonna have, and what have you. So there's a freshness to that first day of school. So I kind of thought about that when I was watching this particular scene. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so just as Omar is a character that I got introduced in this, Bubs is a character that got introduced or reintroduced. Bubs first time, Omar reintroduced, and Colvin reintroduced. The school system is now introduced into this. The for real schools, like the school. So the school system is a character in this season, and so this is the introduction of that character. And so then that brings into play the questions, right? What role does the neighborhood school, the school system, and people's interaction with it, what role does it play in creating the hardships that our boys are going to go through, the ultimate consequences they're going to have to go through, and the people that they are and are growing to be? What role does this school, more importantly, the institution and how people interact with the institution, what role does that have to play in all of that? That's the big question now. And this is essentially why this is known as the education season.
We go back to Colvin and the deacon. So Colvin, of course, has quit his job at the hotel, and he revisits the deacon, and the deacon basically says, Colvin basically says, "Hey, I want 50,000, a take-home car, benefits, and all this, plush stuff that he had in the previous job." The deacon basically said, "You're lucky if you get 30 and a bus pass." So, I guess the message was sent. You want if you're trying to sacrifice for what you really want to do, that there is going to come a sacrifice. If you trying to do what you really are really should be doing, there's going to be a sacrifice for it. What were your thoughts on this quick scene?
Yeah, you named it. That was it.
So we go to Prez, Randy, Michael, and Dookie, Naaman. They enter school. Donnelly, of course, the vice principal, is waiting, and she gives the kids all their respective assignments in regards to the grades. Eighth grade upstairs, sixth grade was on the seventh grade was on the second floor. Sixth grade was on the second floor. Seventh grade was on the third floor. So you had that going on, and then you see immediately Naaman, who has a bunch of jewelry on, with a jersey on. Immediately he gets checked by Donnelly, and then of course during the scene you see Naaman says the epigraph, and says the epigraph as the boys enter school, and as we see Prez also in the scene. Prez is, he gets, we see him get reintroduced as a teacher, because he's no longer a cop. He's a teacher, so he's almost his character. This is almost a reintroduction to his character from a standpoint of where he's at a place in his life, in his career. So you can, I guess we can add him to that list as well.
But we've been reintroduced to him in his new path.
Yeah, that's true. But this is his first.
The other ones this is their first introduction.
Yeah. This is his first. This is his first day in class. He's struggling. Yeah, first day of school. He is struggling to even pass out the bus passes. And Samson, he needs help from Samson, who clearly is the veteran teacher, and it has control and it has a hold of things. She keeps the kids from leaving the classroom, and the right kids get the bus passes. Now, you want to ask the question, why did he have trouble passing the bus passes out? Well, he had trouble passing the bus passes out because he had assigned seats for kids that he hasn't even established a relationship with. They sat in the seats. The kids, of course, sat in I shouldn't even say the wrong seats, but sat in the seats that didn't match up with his assignment with ones he assigned. So the wrong kids got the bus passes, and Miss Sampson had to come in and basically clean that situation up as they were let go early. By because the bell wasn't working. I love this scene because it just, from a standpoint of, and I should like, we all been there as educators that just overwhelmed, inexperienced. And I'll go back to that our first episode of the season, when Donnelly said lambs to a slaughter. And at this right now, he is a lamb to a slaughter at this point. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I had a couple thoughts. One was, what's the quote? What's the name of this quote? Say it again for me.
The epigraph.
The epigraph. Thank you.
It is, I love the first day, man. Everybody all friendly and shit.
Yeah, and so I'll translate that. What Naaman's saying is nobody's had the opportunity to demonize you yet. And that is essentially what I was talking about with like the characterization of boys of color, and in the ways in which they operate, and particularly in the means in which they either have, I'm not going to say that, the means in which they have been left at how to survive. But nobody asked the question, so you just demonize it. And Walmart is Walmart. HBO is HBO. Blah, blah, is all that, right? But everything that the boys are doing and the people are doing in the show are demonized. So that quote is a direct reference. That's Naaman's way of saying that. That's a direct reference of that. The second thing is that the Oh, the dynamics have shifted for Prez, right? When you're a police and you're out there on the street, like when we saw Prez as a young police officer, same kind of situation, didn't know anything or whatever, you can overcome that with bravado. You can overcome that with just use of sheer force and brutality.
Right.
The classroom is a different story. You cannot overcome those things with any of that. And so it's flipped because Prez is no longer the expert of anything, no longer in control of anything. It's actually the veteran Black woman teacher who is the de facto force. And she doesn't have to beat the shit out of anybody. She doesn't have to yell and scream and do all that. She just walks in and does her thing and gets people back in order. And so it's also showing a different way to get people to do what you want. We know what's behind all of her moves to get that as educators, but he has no clue. To your point, Lanta Slaughter, he doesn't know all the moves he needs to make. He has to unlearn every single thing he's ever done in order to make that happen. That's neither here nor there. That's my own personal point on that. But the dynamic, and also, again, The Wire, where it was at this point in time, not common to show a white man being emasculated by a Black woman, essentially. Meaning she came in the power position and he totally was not in the power position and needed all of her help and all of her expertise. Not something you see a lot, even today, to be honest with you. All right, I'm done.
So we go to Herc and Royce. Herc goes into Royce's office. They discuss, Royce asks him about where he's at, on the, Royce asked him about where he's at on the sergeant's list, or why he took the detail in the first place. And you see Herc talk about, he was trying to make sergeant. He scored high, but not high enough. Royce asked him, how high did he score? He tells him, and then immediately you see Royce use his, he's the mayor, make a call, and next thing you know, he's going to, and that's going to lead to, of course, Herc being promoted to sergeant. And the last part of that scene, Herc says something, thanks Herc, thanks Royce, and Royce, this was the, proverbial, subliminal statement, don't mention it. And that's how that particular scene wraps up, ended. And going back to the last episode, this happened exactly how Valchek said it was going to happen. So
yeah,
Valchek,
he kind of knows what he's talking about.
Valchek is we talk about class and session. Valchek is a expert teacher when it comes to the political game. So it happened exactly how how he said it was going to happen.
Yep.
What were your thoughts on this scene?
Nope, you named it. That was it.
So we go back to class. Prez is in class, and Prez and the rest of the class, you have a young lady named Shaquan who criticizes Daquan for the smelling, for how he's smelling. And then you see Prez, and I want, remember that girl Shaquan. She'll be vital in this episode. She moves and sits in another seat. And then you have Prez trying to go over a math problem in regards to distance. I believe it was from traveling from Baltimore to Philadelphia. One of those problems is how many miles there's, with the mileage in terms of how long it would take if he travels this many miles, or how fast the cars, or something like that, something to that extent. You see the girl Shaquan flashing a light from her watch on another student who just minding her business, wasn't doing anything. And the student jumps up. So they jump up, the student jumps up, they're about to fight. You see Prez get in the middle of it. nothing, nothing comes about it as far as the fight, but the commotion is enough to where you see Randy dip out without anybody noticing. What were your thoughts on this particular scene?
This was set up, truly set up.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously this is the setup of the episode.
Yeah.
We get back to Marimo and the detail. So Marimo is has gone over the information in regards to Marlo. He is not impressed because we know they don't know this, but we know that Marlo has been hiding bodies, and he's not dropping a lot of bodies. They even had to admit that he hadn't dropped bodies since going back to the last season, where in the Barksdale War. So Marimo is a straight company man. He's about the stats. He says, we're going to go out there and do street rips. We're not going to sit up here and take all these resources and put them into a dude in Marlo that is not dropping bodies. He says he's never seen anybody take up that amount of real estate without dropping bodies. So Marimo, again, speaking to what the system is in terms of not putting together, great cases, but just going for street rips stats. And he said that specifically. He said street rips and stats. What were on the scene?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's the thing, right? Like the point of this was never to do good casework.
Right.
With him. He was sent in to destroy major crimes. So there was nothing. They could have had Al Capone.
Yeah, true.
Like laid out with all the evidence and everything. His only purpose was to go in there and destroy that unit. That's what Bow said. That's why Raw sent him in. On behest of Burrell, on behest of Royce, in order for Royce to win the election. That's what I'm saying. We can't isolate these things.
No, they're connected.
There's no isolation. They're all connected. Everything is connected. So this doesn't have anything to do with street rips and stuff like that, which normally, you're 100% right. Back in the day when they were talking about everything, this was intentional. He's just using words as just to say words, because you need to say words in a sentence. Because you can't just come outright and say, this squad, just go away. Nobody wants the squad to exist. But you're right. The fact that there are no numbers, there are no bodies, there's no logical argument that the major crimes unit has to keep it going on Marlo.
No, I mean,
there's no logic that they can bring back to his insanity.
No. And like I said, like the show was saying, like you said, he was handpicked by Raw, just like Daniels and Freeman handpicked the previous lieutenant. But we see the complete opposites in terms.
Yeah, the only thing is that was about I don't want to relate those two, because that one was actually about good casework.
No, that's a different
way to go about it. No, but no. This is in behest to Royce. That's the difference. Royce doesn't give a damn about any of this. He just wants to be mayor again.
Yes.
Burrell doesn't care about the major crimes unit. He just doesn't want the mayor to be mad at him.
Yes, he wants to. Yeah, I mean, he wants the mayor off his ass. Yeah. No, there's
definitely. That's the difference. Freeman could Daniels can't promote anybody, but Daniels couldn't move Freeman into the pole position because Freeman doesn't have the rank. So there still had to be somebody effectively over Freeman rank-wise, but Daniels, of course, knows the good work that Freeman can do. That's the difference between those two situations.
So we see Randy, of course, we know he dipped out of class. He and I respect his hustle, man. Randy goes to his locker, he changes shirts, he changes into the 6th grade shirt, he goes to 6th grade lunch and starts selling candy to 6th graders. Then we later see him selling them back on with his 8th grade shirt. selling candy and stuff, candy and what have you to 8th graders. So we see Randy, the businessman. What were your thoughts on this?
Yep. Randy the hustler. He got his little hustle. I did that hustle in school, so I know this one very well.
Oh, you did the changing of the shirts?
I mean, I didn't go to every lunch period, but I had to discount candy and sold it at school.
Gotcha.
For my own little funds.
Yeah.
And so so just like you, I respect the hustle, and Randy's are the ones I have my eyes on. Randy's mine. I got my eye on Randy. Because even though I respect the hustle, you can't be going to everybody's lunch period, giving them candy, taking these kids. Who knows if their mom, anybody wants mine. Anyway, great scene, showing him being a kid.
Yep.
Giving us that character detail.
And couldn't we see Randy as a young Stringer Bell? Wouldn't it be like a Stringer Bell move?
I need you to stop mythologizing Stringer Bell. I don't want Randy to be a Stringer Bell. How about that at all?
So we go to Omar, Renato, and Andre. So Omar, they rob a store. Omar uses classic Omar because he uses Ronaldo. Ronaldo is a student in this scene. He's a student in this scene because he initially was against it because Omar gave him this little rinky-dink gun that he knew couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. But Omar says, "Trust me, it will play." So Ronaldo comes in the store. And Andre is like, "Look, don't you see this glass? What that little piece of shit is not gonna do anything." So right. Ronaldo was the decoy and distracts Andre as Omar comes in with a cannon and shoots the glass, and then of course proceeds to rob Andre and get a stash and a pack of cigarettes on top of it. So fun scene. Watching. This is Omar. This is Apex Omar. Omar is at his peak right now in regards to what the peak of his powers in regards to where he's at, and he executed a flawless plan and robs old face Andre. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, yep, and this every interaction with Omar in this is they're playing a long game. I'll leave it at that. That's the only thing I can say. They want you to think what you're thinking about Omar right now.
Yes.
It's very intentional.
No, it's, yeah. I mean, this is like I said. He's at his apex right now. He's
Yeah, but he's flipping at the exact same time. But I can't get into it.
You can't. Yeah, don't get into it.
Nope. When it comes, I will have the most to say.
So here's what I'll say, and this is the part of the scene. So when they're in the truck, when he was in the truck with Ronaldo, when they're in the truck and they're kind of like iron out the details of it. Ronaldo says, "What about the cameras?" And Omar was like, Omar says, "Are you afraid to be made?" He says, and then he said, Omar says, I am my own trademark.
Yeah, he's ahead of his time.
So
his own brand.
Yes. Trademark brand, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. He says in a sense, he said, I want them to know it was me. That's what he was saying.
Not in a sense, he says it.
He said it, yes. So from that, okay.
That's what that whole opening was about. If you look at it, Omar's totally wrong. And this doesn't even have to go in there. Because he asked homeboy, he's like, I don't even want, what do I want this for? Like, the money? And he's like, yes, absolutely. He's like, yeah, this is why we do this, right? And what Omar's talking about is rep.
Yeah.
And
you got a line. It's not what you take; it's who you taking it from. That was a line.
Right. And we are 24-year-old, 20 whatever. This is 2006, right? 26-year-old me is like, yeah. But a person who wants to envision their life beyond a certain point doesn't think that way. because that's a very finite thought process, right? It goes into the same thing, and it's the same. This is the commentary. It's the same mindset. I never expected to live past X amount of time, right? Bodie said that. Marlo says that. Everybody
Avon
says that.
Yeah, Avon
in the
said
drug
that.
game, rap game, as we know, lyrics, everything like that.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to live past this age. Well, that's how a very, I can only use this word, subjugated people think. People in positions of authority and power, they're not thinking they only going to live to 18, 14, 21, 25, 30. They thinking I want to live this entire lifespan. And so what I'm saying is that that's what Omar's talking about is rep. But it puts you in a position not to be ready.
Yes.
And then I will have to stop talking.
Yep. No, we're on the same. Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah, we're on the same
Mm-hmm.
page. Because the show is always playing a deeper game. Yeah,
very, very long game.
Now I thought about season 5. Yep.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So they're getting those wheels in motion. They're setting that up in season 4.
Yeah, no, without question. And I have to trace this back to see once you get to season 5. This exact scene, and yes, and we'll I'll because it definitely now it stands out. It really stands out now.
No, I got you. I like honestly, like I'm gonna be like in an honest moment here. This is one of the big motivating factors to doing this show. Is I've always wanted to connect season 4 and season 5 together. And particularly like moments like this, but nobody ever has talks about it like that. So this was the opportunity to finally talk about things like that.
So we go to Prez back in class. He's still trying to get through his math problem, and before he can get through the math problem, the bell rings, and that is seemingly the end of a rough first day.
Yeah, just a normal math class.
Yeah, rough.
Yeah.
First day for first.
Nothing to see here. Yep, just a normal rough day. You've all had them.
Everybody been there. We all been
Go
there.
home, take a couple of Advil, aspirin, and you go to sleep.
Yep.
It's a normal day. Nothing to see here. Nothing else is going to happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The funny thing about this scene is the fact that it seemingly like I shouldn't say nobody learned anything, because we'll find out later that somebody did learn something. But at that point in time, you would have thought that nobody learned anything in that particular class, and you would have thought that Prez was just going to walk out and never return again, per se. Not that we believe that was going to happen, but just he looked done. He looked done at the end of that scene. But like I said, first day, but better days would be ahead. Go back to Colvin and the deacon and this academic that the deacon was telling Colvin about. Now they're looking for, not they, but the academic is looking for 18 to 21-year-old violent offenders for research. And the deacon, Colvin is already suspect about it. He says these guys at that age are deep into the game. And Deacon's basically saying, hey, well, let him know that. Let him know that once you get involved. So what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on this on Colvin's new venture?
Yeah, this is setting up. I can't talk about this scene without the other scene.
No. So Prez, to get back to classroom, Prez is cleaning up the classroom that seemingly has just a bunch of papers on the floor. And he does notice that one student did finish the problem and get the problem right.
Yeah,
so
man.
It wasn't.
Gotta hang on to it.
It wasn't all for naught.
Yep. Gotta hang on to it. That first year, just little tiny successes. That's all you're gonna get. Sorry. Sorry. But yeah, you just gotta hold on to them. That's all you're gonna have. Hold on to them tight. Yeah.
And then, but no, but this
Good.
is the funny part. This is the funny part following that scene or following that moment. He sees the paper and then he sees on the desk, "Fuck you, Presbo."
Yep. Yep.
You know, keep you balanced. Keep
Yep.
balanced.
Yep.
So we get to Carcetti and Norman. They go to the funeral of the murdered state's witness. We see Delicate Watkins and Marla Daniels there. And as Carcetti, so Carcetti goes up to the first of all, it was the mother. You had the mother, and then you had the guy with the mother, kind of consoling the mother. I don't know. I don't think he was a brother or something, but his brother, I just think he was just somebody, friend of the family. Let's call him a friend of the family. So they appreciate Carcetti. The dude appreciates Carcetti for showing up. Then Carcetti says, "Sorry for your loss," and then he almost forgets, that this is not forgets, but he almost goes into a tangent about the guy being the witness, and then he thankfully cuts himself off and just says, and as she has no clue, doesn't have a clue what he was talking about at that point, and he finishes up saying, "Sorry for your loss," and then you see him and Norman leave, and Carcetti refuses to talk to the press, take any pictures and what have you. And Norman kind of complains to him about it. He says, "Hey, there'll be another time for that. Now," he's basically saying that now is not the time for that for the headlines of the press. Lot going on in this scene. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, you got to remind me at the end of this scene, do they finish out the conversation?
Which conversation?
This scene, it finishes out the conversation, right? Between him and Norman, and then they leave, or it goes to the next scene, right?
No,
because I had some there are some words.
Norman criticized.
Is there another scene with them?
Is there another scene with Carcetti and Norman?
Carcetti, Norman, that's the funeral, right? It's just I'm just trying to make sure it's the same thing. Okay, so I'll pick up the language because it goes into my point. And so Norman says to him, he's like, "As political theater goes, boss, this is pretty lame."
Right.
And at the very end of the scene, like directly after that, but it's the end of the scene, he goes, "Well, it depends on who your audience is." Remember what we said about Carcetti, and this is why the character moments are so important. You can't lose sight of them, right? Like, Carcetti is politically savvy. The way that they're presenting him is that he's like a political savant. Like, he just inherently knows when to make the necessary move, right? So you're right. He comes in uncomfortable. He does have the instincts beforehand. He's talking to Norman. If I do this, I'm just going to look just like another politician doing it, right? Royce is going to come. He's going to say his piece. Tony Gray's going to come. He's going to say his piece. Whoever else in the political, all of them are going to come and they're going to say their piece, right? But none of them are coming because they're actually sorry for this loss. They actually feel this mother's pain. Again, this was a fantastic scene because it really was good. And they don't really feel this mother's pain. None of them feel this mother's pain and is interested in why her son lost their life. It is a political issue for everybody involved. And so Carcetti smartly knows that if he positions himself just along with them doing the same thing, he won't stand out from the rest of them.
Right.
And this is a moment he really wants to stand out with because his audience is Delegate Watkins, not the mom, not anybody else in there. His audience is Delegate Watkins. And so what he needs to do is come off as caring and sincere and all those different things, or at least willing to do things differently, which is what he recognizes in that moment. And so while his campaign manager is like political theater, like as political theater, this is bad because everybody knows what the game is. Everybody knows what the game is. Everybody knows why he's there. Everybody knows why Royce is there. Everybody knows why it's coming. And you even hear a little bit in the background, the journalists are like, "So why'd you call us?" They've been called to cover this for this exact reason. So that's why Norman's like, "This is bad political theater because we've already made the call for y'all to come down. And so you just walking out is just going to look crazy." But again, his audience is Delegate Watkins. His audience isn't the media, the mom, anybody else there. It's a one-person show he's putting on for. Very politically savvy.
Yes. No, it was.
Disingenuous, heartless, disgusting, all those things, yes.
No,
But also very politically savvy.
Yes, there will be some payoff. We go back to Colvin, the academic, and an inmate named Sean, who is 18 years old. So you see Carver brings in Sean. Sean is, they bring him into the interrogation room. He, of course, is handcuffed to the table. And the academic sits down and starts taking notes. Immediately, Sean recognizes that Colvin's a cop and the academic is not. So Colvin starts asking questions about Sean and about his sister, and says, about Sean and his sister, says, what would you do if somebody did something to your sister? And the guy says, I would, get somebody to handle it. And Colvin keeps, just purposely asking these questions before Sean just snaps. And basically, because Sean, the guy, warned the academic about writing, about taking the notes, but the dude kept taking notes, and then he snapped, tried to jump at there, tried to take the pen away from the dude, and then you see Colvin, him showing up, and the academic at this point is out of the room. He ran out the room, and Colvin thanks the young dude for being himself, as he was trying to make a point that this dude was too old. And then the academic realizes, says, "Hey, I guess he was too old. I recognize the fact that we may need to go younger." And Carver and Colvin laugh at him. Carver and Colvin laugh at him. What were your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, sometimes the only way to get your point across is to have somebody experience it.
Yes.
Right? And so, he was using his word. I mean, he was saying it to the guy in the other scene. He was like, but Colvin recognized that in order to get this point across, the guy needed to see it in action. He needed to see what it looked like. He needed to see the anger and the violence and all of the different things that are there, to understand that for the purposes of what they were looking for, they would find more results with starting younger.
Yeah, and immediately that the dude picked up on Colvin being a cop. He saw that. He read that from from the time he walks in the room. So you got this guy who just was savvy. This young boy was savvy enough, and to pick up on that. And they just they wanted you. The writers, of course, wanted you to know that this guy had been, he was 18 years old. He had been been street savvy and have been through it. I mean, been through some stuff. We go on to Daniels and Kima. Of course, Kima, we know the dynamic of the Kima and Daniels relationship. Kima goes to him, wanting out of the major crime unit. Daniels tells her, don't come back to me in terms of for a district. He says that's beneath you. If you're gonna go, you're gonna go up. He said, move up, don't go lateral. So he tells her, I'll see what I can do. He says, I'll see what I can do. So, we know these characters have a lot of history from the start. From season one. What were your thoughts on this interaction?
Yeah, this is actually how you do it. This was very sweet and very awesome. It's just an awesome scene and amazing to see. Because you felt this is definitely father, daughter, mentor, mentee, all the different things we talked about in last episode. Daniels truly cares for her, and he's truly giving her good advice. In the in television world, wire world, just good, or in the real world, that's great advice that he gave her. And so he like, this is the example of somebody truly caring for somebody and wanting the best for them and trying to support them in that. Kima's coming and asking something that would be totally beneficial to Daniels, totally beneficial to him.
Yes, if she joined
but he cares about her more.
Yep.
And wants the best for her, and gives her advice, and then does actual steps to make it a reality for her. Right? That's how it goes.
Yeah, no,
in juxtaposition to Bodie and Michael's conversation.
Absolutely.
Not how it goes.
It's a polar opposite, yes. It's
yes.
The exact opposite. Like, I'm like, Bodie, I don't, Bodie, I don't give a fuck about
we don't have to re-adjudicate it. I just say, Daniels cares.
Genuinely cares about it.
He cares, and is showing how he cares.
Yes. So we go to Rawls and Freeman. Freeman, of course, recognizes that what Rawls was doing with Merriman, says, going to gut us from the inside out. Doesn't want to go back, of course, not going to go back to the MCU, to Major Crimes Unit. Rawls, during the scene, does acknowledge Freeman's work and says, in spite of everything, you're a hell of an investigator. And he sends him back to homicide. He goes back to Freeman asks to go back to homicide. Rawls grants that request and says, consider this to be a favor. Considers to be a favor. What were your thoughts?
I also, Freeman was like, to send somebody in, I didn't expect that. He's like, well, like it was a well played. So both of them were acknowledging both of their skills.
Yes.
In their variety, in their different capacities. That was my only point. Otherwise, it's setting up.
So you see Colvin and the guy, the doctor, the academic go into the middle school, and immediately see kids kind of running around. But we know that this is more. This is the group that Colvin wanted to target, and thinks that they can be more successful at in the middle school. As they go to as they go to Tillman Middle School, and again we see kids running around being middle schoolers for that matter. Quick scene, but what were your thoughts?
Yep, running around being middle schoolers. Nice setup scene.
We go to Daniels and Rawls. So Rawls basically is, is gleefully telling Daniels that the major crime unit is a rat. Tells him about Merriman. Daniels, of course, doesn't like that because he built that unit, and he just asked Rawls for a favor in terms of helping Greg's land on her feet. And Rawls obliges and says, who is it now that I don't like? So Rawls says, that vacancy had been filled by Freeman, but now, now Rawls is willing to take somebody else out of their place to replace them with Greg's for Daniels. Now, again, he's not doing this because he likes Daniels. This is politicking too, and this is not who Rawls is not. Rawls doesn't like Daniels. It's just more about how do you view it? Because I was curious to view it of why he did that for Daniels. Why do you think he did that?
Yeah. I mean, it's a curious position to be in, right? Like in terms of like Daniels, like the sides have almost flipped, right? So it's like it's I think a tacit admission, which means just kind of like a subtle admission, and of course played for they're setting this up. The writers are, but just talk about the characters. It's a tacit admission by Rawls that Daniel's star is rising, right? And that this is somebody that he's going to need to curry favor with.
Yeah.
We know the currency of the department because they've shown it to us so many times. The currency of this department is favors. Is you do me a favor. What was the word? Remember? Quid pro quo. Oh man, 2020. So you do me a favor. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yes.
But Rawls will only do that with people who he believes can pay him back one day, do something for him. He's not going to even extend something like that if there's nothing to gain. Now,
so to your point, So
now, that's why I said it's a tacit admission, which means Daniels isn't at the point where he can give Rawls a favor right now, right? Like he's not that high up.
No.
Rawls still outranks him by a lot. So he's not that high up, but it's acknowledgement. Like, yeah, I see you. You're rising. You might be somebody that I can have spend some currency with. But on top, but like what Daniels did was give Kima another outlet, but didn't help himself. What Rawls does know is that these are no bums that are coming to him.
No, he's getting not
the bottom of the barrel. So but see, that's what I'm saying. The skill of what is going on, right? Like this is how it works. He is currying favor with Daniels, meaning he gave Daniels a good turn. So now Daniels will owe him down the road, kind of got by the move, right? It may come, it may not come. But when the time does come where I need a favor from you, you're going to give it to me because I did this. And he gets two great detectives for his homicide squad.
In Rawls' mind, it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
So, no, this is how you play the game. They're showing you, like the Wire's showing you how the sausage is made. It's showing you how this whole thing goes. How does one get from a beat cop to top of the totem pole? They're showing you. How does a councilman get to be mayor? They're showing you.
Yes.
Right? How does a lowly, not lowly, how does so-and-so become an Omar? How does so-and-so become a Bubs? How does so-and-so, they're showing you the process every step of the way. It's up to us as the viewers to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, in Raw's eyes, this was a win-win for him. Getting two great detectives and, like you said, a favor in his back pocket from a guy who he believes will have value in the future. So we get to the final scene. Get back to the classroom, and
this is what I was joking around. Just an average day. I forgot we hadn't got here yet.
Yeah, no, this
keep going. But yeah,
turns out this was
just a normal day.
President's Day was not over. This is part of the same day. So I let me correct myself on that. President was just cleaning up his classroom in between classes. So he hadn't seen
for the next period class.
For the next period, yeah, he hadn't seen anything yet. So President's teaching, and you get back to the girl, Shaquan. Shaquan is the girl who insulted Dookie with the comments about his clothes and how he was smelling. She's sitting in the back. Now, mind you, at this point, she's she's minding her own business. But the other girl, Leticia, I think that was her name, has a long memory, to say the least. And she said, Leticia said something to her, and soon as Shaquan stands up, Leticia slices Shaquan with a box cutter, cuts her face wide open. He falls to the ground. Miss Sampson comes in immediately and takes control of the situation, disarms Leticia, smacks her, and immediately tells the student to go call the nurse, and what have you. And Duquan puts a mini fan, a hand fan that, by the way, and I should have mentioned this earlier, that he has spent the whole entire episode fixing. He picked it up earlier in the episode off the street and basically, like I said, spent the entire episode fixing it. Now he's fixing it. So he fans the girl, not the girl who got sliced, but he fans the girl who did the slicing. As she is at this point despondent, and he fans her, then he puts the fan by her and backs away. The thing that jumped out to me about the scene, I cannot fully flush this scene out until the next episode, because the saddest part about this scene will come with more information about the girl in the next episode, to be honest with you. But the thing about the scene that jumped out to me the most in another viewing was the reaction from Michael, which wasn't a reaction. Like, everybody in the class jumped up, yelled. Michael sat still and was stoic. And that to me, more than anything that happened in this scene, stood out the most. What were your thoughts?
I was going to go in a very specific direction. I'm going to get there, but your words just like destroyed my heart, Ril, because I had never noticed that ever, and didn't notice it this time.
On the camera, no, the camera.
I've always wondered. I was like, where did Dookie get that fan? Like, where's that fan coming from at the end of the episode? Always.
Yeah.
Like, where did this fan come from? Where did he have it? I never noticed that, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It destroys me emotionally inside, knowing this character, knowing everything. Like I'm pulling all the, like, nah, I'm not doing that right now. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I know this character's journey,
right,
and that's heartbreaking to figure that out right now in this moment. Wow. Anyways, so the point that I would have, this show is really good. The point that this is why I said this is literally a perfect season. It's perfect in every aspect. And so the point that I was thinking about before that was that we need to have a conversation about trauma. Now's the time to do this. Now's the time to have this conversation.
Right.
And like, not, I don't even need to be specific about what's going on. I just want to have a conversation about trauma, because that's what plays in not only to this scene, but plays into everything that they're talking about and we'll be talking about there. We know this very well. Anybody that's listening to this in 2020, 2021 knows this very well. We are going through a national trauma, and it just keeps happening over and over and over and over again. In a variety of different ways, and it sucks. And it makes you angry and sad and depressed, all these different things all the time. This is what this girl is going through, quite obviously, without even having to know anything. Now the entire world has a relatable point. I used to have to pull in other people's stories and different things. Like, now I don't even have to do that. Just look at what's going on, and you know what trauma is, and you know how it makes you feel. So I used to have to be really careful with how I talked about this in the conversations and who I had this conversation with, because like, me and you can have this conversation, and we can have it in a variety of different ways, and we can even have it in a way that looks like joking, but we can have it in that way because we know what that girl is going through. We've experienced it either ourselves or through others, and have had to deal with all the ramifications of it. Other people would have, or in the past, looked at this as just like a violent Black girl, and I had a problem with those conversations and would not engage in them, as a matter of fact, which is why I had to be careful. But now, since everybody understands what trauma is, going through a national trauma, I can always just relate it to that. This has nothing to do with the angry Black girl in there. I was going to ask you, just me and you talking, as I don't even want to give out specific positions or specific schools, anything like that, but from the seat that we sit in, and you were like, this was like a video you were looking at, what would you say was Presveluski's biggest mistake? This is high level stuff. This is not anything he would know. So, I'm not even saying like this is something he should know. But me and you have done this so many times. What would you have pointed out to him? Mistake is a word we would use. I definitely would not use that with a young teacher or a freshman teacher. But what would have been that you would have pointed out to him?
So
what could he have done differently?
There are a number of things, but I think
just listen. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go back to not even this particular class period, to the earlier class period when they were about to square off. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they're about to square off. That situation never got rectified at all.
Nope.
So so two students are about to fight in your class, and you just go along like, just a part of the system, part of the game. You cannot do that shit because that shit is going to come back. You can't do that.
Always
So at that point,
it
always comes back. We've seen this. Me and you see it in 20 years. We've seen this
always comes back.
Always going to come
certain
back.
Death taxes and them kids not letting go of that anger. Certain.
At that point, when they were about to square off, if you're President Lucy, I don't care if you get cursed out, what have you, you deal with that shit and be like, look, we're going to have this conversation. We're going to talk it out. What's your problem with her? What's your problem with her? And then, then the shit still may pop off, but at least you have invested. First of all, you have invested some time in developing a relationship and getting to know. Maybe the girl with trauma comes out and explains what's going on. Maybe I don't know. But as soon as that first fight happened or the near fight happened, you knew this wasn't going. Even the first viewing, you're like, oh, this shit is not over with. You knew as an educator, like, nah, this not. When they came back to this scene, the second time, like, nah, this was not going to end well. I didn't anticipate her slashing her. When I first saw it, I didn't anticipate that. But when they first fought, or when they first was about to fight, and he didn't handle it at all, I was like, no, like, nah, it's not. Nope.
That's it. That's the answer. Of course, that's the answer. It's the whole show. I mean, and if you don't know this, then you don't know it. You just don't know it. Only this is one of those. That's why I said this is a high. I wouldn't even expect this of a new teacher, freshman, anything like that. This is a higher level skill.
Yes, that he doesn't have at this point. That he clearly
no. This is a high level skill because even I didn't catch all the intricacies my first few viewings of this. I had to develop in my skill set to really identify the piece. And so you're 1,000% right. And the only thing that I would add on to that is at the very least by having a conversation with the two in order to work it out, you at least show you care.
Yes.
And give a momentary pause. You're absolutely right. Will that stop it? Probably not. You probably need more interventions and stuff like that in there. And, I'm not going to go into the weeds on it. But at the very least, you show that you care. Yeah. But what you cannot do, what you may never do, is not address it.
I can't fully flush this girl out because from the standpoint, I can't. I have to wait till the next episode because we're gonna get to her story in the next episode. It will be fully flushed out. Not the girl who got slashed, but the girl who did the slashing. They'll talk more about her in the next episode. But if you're President Lusky, again, it began. There's a reason why the first episode and I'll keep going back to that epigraph, lambs to a slaughter. President Lusky is not even really supposed to be in there. He's an ex-cop with no teaching experience. That is
I'm not going to do that. I mean, you know how this goes. You know how this goes.
I know.
So, I get it. I mean, we've both had plenty of jokes on this in a variety of different situations, which I won't be specific about. And so, I get it. Yes. But you also know where this show is going.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I want you to think about that in terms of the commentary that they're making, right? And this is coming from Ed Burns' specific experience. What I will 1,000% agree with you that's inherent in that lands to the slaughter portion of it was that there are, and this is the relation to what they're saying about the police department in Baltimore at that time. What they're saying is, how are these young people trained?
Right.
That's the essential question. And by I mean young people, young people to the profession. They don't have to physically be young, but new to a profession.
Profession, yes.
How are they trained? What does that look like? And you're absolutely right. They're all lambs to the slaughter in that eye.
So the Michael aspect of this, and the reason why I point out the Michael's reaction or lack thereof for that standpoint is something to keep in mind for the entire season as you see his character develop over the course of the season. But it also speaks to the thoughts of what could this kid possibly have dealt with that would render him not even respond to react to something like that. So that's why the Michael reaction really jumped out this time when he didn't jumped out. Like what, you know what I'm saying? So keep, for the audience, definitely keep that in mind. Put that in your back pocket from that standpoint. And as far as that scene goes, everybody in that classroom, not everybody in the classroom is a victim. Everybody, the person, of course, got slashed, the girl who has the trauma, and the class who had the entire class who had to witness that. Everybody in that scene, and the teacher, and Prez as well, seeing that, your first, everybody in there is a victim. Everybody. So that to me, that was again one of the more powerful scenes in the shows, of the season, without and one of the more shocking, even when I was watching today, I was like, damn, I've seen this before, but it still kind of caught me off guard, just how quick it happened, and just how how it happened and how it went down. So yeah, that was and that of course ended the episode. But we see in this episode again, in terms of our themes, we had everybody wants Michael. That's going to be a major theme throughout the course of the season, as we see the beginning of the recruitment of Michael Lee by Bodie, Marlo having his eyes on him, and of course class in session. And again, there was a lot of teaching going on throughout the streets, throughout the politics, and definitely within the classroom. And we had some characters, in this we have some characters. We look at Omar, we look at Miss Sampson, we look at Omar, we look at a Ross, we look at those characters who know the game, who are in ways master teachers of this, versus characters like Prez or say Ronaldo, who are kind of learning it, trying to pick it up, and are certainly at a different stage than their mentor. So a lot going on in regards to that in terms of the themes. In regards to the MVP, who was your MVP?
This is another one where it was fairly tricky to pick an MVP. But I think if I had to go one place specifically, it'd probably be Bodie. I think that was a very big stand for his character. Because remember where we met Bodie. When we met Bodie, he was pining over Stringer.
Right.
And now, many years later, we're looking at him being like, nah, I'm going to stand on my own. That's big time. That's big time. So Bodie would be my MVP, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Oh, wait, no, your MVP, sorry.
Yeah, my MVP, I had Colvin as the MVP.
That's a good one.
That the scene he had where he does, where he recognizes that this is not this hotel security thing is not for me. Identifying, the violent offender, is so his savvy with that. And we see, we kind of see his imprints throughout the course of this episode, even though he wasn't in that many scenes, he still wasn't enough I thought to have a major impact on what was going on in this particular episode. Who was your Chardine?
Yeah, so I really, really want to go and look at that Duquan scene again. I have a sneaking suspicion that would be my Chardine now. But since I didn't catch it in real time, then the thing that had the original Chardine award was between I think I want to give Bodie everything this episode. It would be I was going to share it with Bodie and Slim Charles. That scene between those two was so powerful. So I'll give my Chardine to Slim Charles.
Yeah,
because I gave Bodie the MVP.
I want to give before I give my Chardine. I want to get back to that last scene with Duquan sharing the fan. Or sharing the fan with a girl. That's such a powerful moment. And
the big thing about the really big thing that because I'm just now realizing all of this for the first time, which is crazy. But the big thing that hit me from what you said was that he had found it earlier and had been working on it all day.
If you look at
and so just like, that's always the thing with Duquan. Now this is just me talking. I just got it. That's always the thing with Duquan, his potential. Yep. That's always it's the gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. It's why we do this, me and you. It's why we do this, because we believe in kids and them having the best opportunity. Whatever that opportunity is, but just them having the weeds cleared out enough so that they can walk the path that is meant for them. And so that is always what's devastating about Duquan. And that was such a mini moment in that I wish I've caught that. I wish I've caught that throughout the years.
It's such a
that's a lot to handle right now. That's a lot to handle in 2021. I needed that realization in a much less stressful year.
Exactly. It's a powerful moment from the standpoint of this kid was picked on, has been picked on, called, stinking, and we got a sense of his situation, but yet he has the heart to attend to somebody who he feels like is in need of some help. So that to me really it stands out. It stands out even much more now. I'm thinking about it now. Like this dude has no reason whatsoever to help anybody the way he gets shit on up until this point. We've seen Duquan.
Man, honestly, it's not even really help, right? Like a fan on her isn't like giving her anything.
No, it's not.
It's just
it's the
to
thought.
Your point. No. To your point, we're all on the same. None of this is that everything. To your point, it's just that man. It's just like that caring.
Right. Yes.
It's caring.
Yes. That nurturing, so to speak.
Yeah. Yep. Perfect word.
So that was just a tremendous scene, and a number of things happening in that moment, in that scene. I mean, you have Samson come in a crisis situation and immediately take control and do everything that Prez didn't do. Samson did do, like how she disarmed the girl, said just as soon to call the cops, or not cops, call the ambulance, whatever, and just, immediately brings a sense of stability to that chaotic and just traumatic situation. It was a number of things going on, with Michael. Like I said, that scene is a whole lot to unpack.
Well, demystify that, Ril. How did she do that? It's not just the power of her beauty that made that happen.
That is established.
I'm saying demystify it for the audience. You know how she did that.
Samson, that is established over years and years of building relationships developing,
There you go.
showing the
There
students
you
who
go.
she is. That no, you don't just
Mhm.
pop up and do that shit. That's just not. That's
But
that.
it's important to say that though. People think
Yes,
it's magic.
yes, 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 yes.
And the reason why, because it connects with the deeper meaning of this season.
Right.
How she gets those kids to respond to her is the whole show, as we know. It's the whole show. And it means a lot to this, what they're saying this season.
No question about
So,
it.
nothing happens in The Wire by accident.
No, not at all.
They're not just showing those scenes to give this actress something to do. They're saying something with it.
No,
But because a lot of people aren't educators, they might not automatically understand what they're trying to say.
Yeah. This is a, like you said, this is a. It's a
You know what?
Perfect season. It's a perfect season.
Can I give a co-Chardine now?
Sure.
Because she's got to get it.
Yeah.
Homegirl.
Yeah. You talking about
She's got to get it, right?
Samson could definitely
Yes.
be ready for a coach Chardonnay.
So I'm going, if I can't co-it, then she'll just get it. Because thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, she did all of that in her just like that little bit of time.
Yeah.
She commanded all of that and said all those things. So that's my new Chardine. I'm getting all types of new revelations from episode 3 today, but it's fantastic. This is why The Wire is so good. I love this.
Yeah. My Chardine I had actually had Omar.
Yep.
So when Omar
doesn't get more Chardine than that opening. Sorry.
Yeah, that opening was ridiculous. Yeah, that opening is
keep going. Sorry.
The opening, that opening is everything. Because it gives, because what happens is, this is what happens. You think we watched this season, okay, up until this point, right? You've watched 3 seasons of this show, and you think you have a handle on somebody like Omar. We think you know everything about Omar, and then we get another layer of what Omar is all about. So that scene, he says he's doing it for the reputation. He doesn't want to. He wants it. He is in it for the thrill. He's in it for the thrill. Like he's not. It's not just about the money. It's about the reputation, and he almost wants it to be hard. Like he almost wants it to be difficult. Like so, it's like going back to season 3. He could have went for the easy money all the time and robbed and got hit Pop Joe. No, I need to take down. Obviously, there were personal reasons he wanted the Barksdales, but also the Barksdales were by far and away the big fish, the bigger of the challenge. Avon was the man when it comes to that. He was a more difficult guy, more difficult person to rob. So Omar needs a challenge. Omar needs a challenge, and that again, that told you, it gave you another sense of what Omar is all about. So that's why I love that particular that opening is everything. And then you go to him teaching this dude, he brings along his new lover, and he's teaching him the game with showing him how to rob a place and the ABCs in terms of that, the patience and what have you. So again, the teaching, the class, the education. Yeah, he was educating. So yeah, this episode actually, this episode is ranked 35. It definitely, I could, we could make a case for it to be higher, but 35 was a good place for this particular episode. I can understand why Vulture had it, because it definitely was a great introduction to the classroom and things and things to that nation. Again, there will be a number of lessons throughout the course of this season. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast, The Wire Remix. We will be back. You will hear from me later on this week in regards to the sports. Plenty of that going around to talk about. As always, thanks to Rob Sapp. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. Appreciate you. Everybody be safe, be healthy, and go Bills.
Yep, go Bills. You can say that for another week. Go Bills. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. Like always, I'd like to thanks to Robert Sapp for joining the program. I will be back with you tomorrow. We're going to drop an episode in regards to what transpired this weekend and national championship tonight with Alabama, Ohio State. Might be probably going on as we speak. So we'll talk about that. But as always, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will see you next time. Have a great rest of the evening.